So video games.
Oh, I almost died there.
They're expensive. They're in fact getting more expensive, and they're getting more expensive for no discernible reason. They're just getting more expensive to become more expensive. And I have heard all kinds of excuses the last couple of days about why video games should be $70. And honestly, all those excuses are wrong. Alex, how could they be wrong? Inflation, the price of making games, the cost of doing business. And I'm here to tell you that you're wrong. You're 100% wrong across the board.
You need to take everything that man just said to heart, mind, and soul, because at the rate that the game industry is going right now, they are flat out disrespecting you and basically using you as a resource. So I want to preface this the best way that I can, and to do that, I want you to think that you are a millionaire, that you have all the money that you can possibly want and need. Emphasis on need, because as a responsible adult, you are responsible for your bills, your mortgage, your rent, everything that you possibly need to tackle in your daily life financially. And you, as a responsible adult, have that responsibility to handle all the necessities in life to ensure that you are perfectly capable of living by yourself or with other people, especially if you're renting out an apartment and you're living with a significant other. Because at the rate that the game industry is going right now, they do not care about any of that. The only thing they care about is how much they can milk you dry. And I have been seeing this day in and day out. And honestly, after that Nintendo Switch 2 presentation, I and you, yes, you watching this, need to draw the line right here, right now. It was bad enough when PlayStation decided to release the PlayStation 5 with the disc drive for $500 and then the digital version for $450, because that is by far the most expensive console that I have ever seen to date. And in the beginning, the PlayStation 5 looked promising. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, Sackboy Big Adventure, Canon Bridge of Spirits, Stray, even Little Devil Inside, which to this day still doesn't have a release date. And I hope to God that the people who are making that game are keeping up with good health in order to work on the thing in order for it to get finished. Fast forward to right now, and people are absolutely bored and tired of PlayStation 5, because not only is PlayStation not working on any of the IPs that made them what they were back in the PlayStation 1 and 2 days, you get idiots like Hiroki Totoki saying that they don't have enough IPs, and then PlayStation just doesn't know what to do anymore. And then you get idiots like Neil Druckmann, who crapped out games like Last of Us Part 2, and he's feeding his own ego with Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, a game that honestly most of the human population doesn't know about or doesn't even want. The same could be said for Horizon, because people are absolutely tired of that franchise too, especially the remasters, which cost $10 extra, which by the way Xbox doesn't do. And honestly, I'm getting sick and tired of PlayStation coming up with all these pointless remasters, whether it be for Horizon, for Days Gone, for Until Dawn, and of course The Last of Us, because none of those games needed a remaster in any capacity. And for all the people out there who keep complaining about Bloodborne getting remastered, stop. You do not want a remaster of Bloodborne. You want an upgrade of Bloodborne. You just want to play the game at 60 frames per second. And to be honest, that's all you need. You do not need a remaster of Bloodborne. The game is fine. There is no need for that game to receive any kind of overhaul, because the game is not busted. And trust me, I played the game before. Finished it once actually, got the bad ending, but at least I hit credits and I'm in New Game Plus. But Bloodborne does not need a remaster. It just needs to run at 60 frames per second on PlayStation 5. And to be honest, I thought that was what was going to happen with the PlayStation 4 games, because when I looked at Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, I thought to myself, perfect, that means I can upgrade it on PlayStation 5. And to be honest, it's not as simple as putting the disc in the console and then it upgrades that way, even though that should have been the case, because you're literally putting it into a more powerful system. You have to put the game in the console, go to the PlayStation Store, and then download the specific version so that the game can actually harness the power of that console. And that's what I ultimately hate about PlayStation, is the fact that they're charging you even more just to upgrade a game to either a remaster status or for it to just be playable the way it's supposed to on PlayStation 5. And when I bought Stray, it actually gave me a choice to download the PlayStation 4 version or the PlayStation 5 version. And of course I went to PS5 because I'm literally putting the game in a PlayStation 5. That's just common sense. Then comes the stupidest announcement that I have ever seen in my entire life, and quite possibly the biggest waste of time, effort, and money that mankind will ever have the displeasure of experiencing. The PlayStation 5 Pro. This console does not come with a disc drive, nor does it come with a vertical stand. And the only reason that console exists is to eliminate the division of choosing performance mode or fidelity mode. To which I say, what is the point when both consoles look and perform exactly the same?
For this, my favorite is the parade scene from Ratchet and Clank. Distant details are much clearer.
Oh yeah, the banner. No? Shoot, what am I looking at here? The building on the right has more windows? No? Are there more polygons?
And here, we can see Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is noticeably higher resolution throughout the scene.
Okay, now they're just fucking with me. What am I supposed to look at the trees? Oh, you know what? The leaves look sharp. Oh no, that's the original PS5. What am I looking at?
I saw this and I thought to myself, there is no reason for this console to exist because people already spent $500 on the console. $550, you bought that God of War bundle, not to mention the games out there that cost $70 and controllers that cost $50 or $60. They probably cost $80. So I want to preference this the best way I can. Let's say that you're in the market of a console, right? Let's say that you wanted a PlayStation 5. And with the PlayStation 5, you get the console, you get the controller, you get all the Bluetooth stuff, all the components, all that stuff. But say you wanted another controller for some two-player action. That's $70 to $80 right out of the gate. Assuming that you're not buying a specific DualSense controller or the DualSense Edge controller, which is going to run you about $80, $100, or probably $130. And then there are the games, which cost about $60 to $70 because we just need to get used to the fact that games are $70 now when no, we shouldn't. And then there's the expandable memory, which costs around $150 or $200. I'm not even going to do the math on that because on the top of my head, that rounds about to $1,000 just to get a console, another controller, one game, expandable memory, and anything else that you probably need. All of that for today's market. PlayStation 5 Pro, $700.
What? What? PS5 Pro available November 7th for, what is that? $700? Are you out of your damn mind?
That's in the US.
Are you out of your damn mind? Let's do the conversion, Joe, right here. $914 in the UK? Are you out of your mind? Is Sony gone crazy with this shit? What the fuck? I got hit with the price right in the face. Okay, so what else? EU, 882. If you do the conversion, obviously, currency conversion's crazy right now, but still, $700 fucking dollars.
And if you want the disc drive and the vertical stand, that might as well cost $800 if not $900.
Oh my god. Wait, where's the disc? Where's the disc drive? $700 US? Where's the disc drive? Where's the disc? Where's the... You are... No. 700... Wait, hold on a minute. I gotta do some math. That's not even with, like, taxes added on either. Oh my god.
vertical stand. Oh, they're $700, and vertical stands sold separately. You got me twisted. You got me.
I told you $700.
$700, and the vertical stand is sold separately. You got me balling, bro. You got me.
Dude. Oh my god. $700? For what? Fidelity mode now in 30? Or now in 60 rather? Fidelity mode now in 60? And performance mode now in 120? That's worth 700? Really? Without a disk drive? You can't even play 4K Blu-rays if you wanted to. I mean, you gotta be me.
All y'all run out and buy these iPhones and buy these Androids as $1,000 or more. Y'all can save money for that. Y'all can save money for this.
$699 without a disk drive. Oh god, that's brutal. Oof, that is brutal. Yeah, that's why there's no disc console. It's what I was thinking, but man, $699, that's up there. Oh boy, I thought worst case scenario we were looking at $649. That's gonna sting.
I almost started to ask the question, like, who's this made for? Based on that type of upgrade, is that worth it?
It's $700. It's 800 quid for me. 800. 700 pounds is $700. Holy shit. All because they added gills to it? And it doesn't have a disk drive either. What the hell?
$699.99?
Yeah, you might as well buy a PC.
Wait, and you gotta buy the stands separately? You know what?
I'm not even.
We got a
debrief.
debrief.
Income for that, but God.
Oh my god, it's actually going to be $700. Holy shit. November 7th. Holy shit. Sony said, fuck it. There we go. $700 PS5 Pro. That's a hard sell, dude.
You see where I'm going with this? And trust me, it gets even worse. Looking at the Xbox Series X on the Xbox website also has a similar problem, because if you want the 1TB disc drive in carbon black, that's $500. 1TB all digital robot white, $450. And the 2TB disc drive Galaxy Black, which honestly looks amazing by the way, love how this looks, $600. And of course, the games on Xbox also cost $60 to $70. So before I go even further about how awful the pricing is for the Nintendo Switch 2, I actually want to go back and see the pricing for the previous consoles that Nintendo has released in the past. For the Nintendo Entertainment System, $180. Super Nintendo Entertainment System, $200. Nintendo 64, $200. GameCube, $200 before they have to bump down the price over and over and over again because they couldn't keep up with the competition. And then they bumped it down so low that it was $100. The Nintendo Wii, $250. The Nintendo Wii U for the regular one, $300. For the deluxe edition, $350. The Nintendo Switch, $300. Nintendo Switch OLED, $350. So as you can see, Nintendo actually priced their consoles fairly. Not one console in this list feels like it was overpriced. In fact, I would go so far to say that these were reasonable. That is until we look at the inflation adjusted prices and we can see that there's a huge bump up. In fact, I would go so far to say that it's almost on par with what we're seeing in today's market. Then we get to the Nintendo Switch 2. Nintendo is retailing this product for $450. And you already know how terrible that is given what's going on with PlayStation and Xbox. But that's just the console by itself. If you want the Nintendo Switch 2 bundled with Mario Kart World, that's $500. So I hope you understand where I'm coming from when I said that even if you have $1 million, you still have all those necessities to take care of. Bills, taxes, mortgage, rent, daily necessities that you as a responsible adult need to take care of. You do not have money to be buying anything for full price. Not for a console, not for a game, not even for online services, which has absolutely no reason to exist. Not PlayStation Plus, not Xbox Gold, and certainly not Nintendo Switch Online, which honestly I'm getting sick and tired of. I never had a Nintendo Switch. I've been emulating their games this entire time, which is the main reason why I really want to get a Nintendo Switch 2 once I see a huge price drop, so I can continue Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door, because as of this recording, I put that on hiatus because I honestly do not want to emulate that game anymore. And to be fair, the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct honestly has some good games, my personal favorite being Donkey Kong Bonanza. Can't wait to see more of that game in those Treehouse events. But after the price drop for not just the Nintendo Switch 2, but also the games too, because now Nintendo has made the unfortunate decision to price the new Mario Kart game, Mario Kart World, $80 digitally and $90 physically. And there is no logical explanation as to how they ended up with that decision. And back then I did say don't be surprised if the games start costing $80 or $90 or $100, because apparently Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to price around $100. And already I can see the gaming version of the Great Depression happening, because these companies are overpricing, overcharging everything in the game industry. Consoles shouldn't even be remotely $400 at this point, especially when we have all those necessities to take care of, and the fact that people lost their homes in the Los Angeles fire. There is absolutely no reason for any company to be charging remotely $400 at this point. So when I saw that Nintendo did not release a price in the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, I knew that something was up. So I went back to the Nintendo Switch presentation.
Nintendo Switch will release simultaneously on March 3rd, 2017 in Japan, the US, Canada, major European countries, Hong Kong, and other territories. This is the suggested retail price for Nintendo Switch. In Japan, it will be 29,980 yen. In North America, it will be $299.99. For the price in Europe, please check with your local retailer.
And the way how they conveyed that information is infinitely better than how they portrayed that information of the Nintendo Switch 2 in this Direct. They had the release date for all the regions. They had the price for all the regions. No stone was left unturned except for the memory capacity, which Nintendo touched on for the Nintendo Switch 2 in this Direct. And I hope to God that games like Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door actually run at 60 frames per second on this new console. But I won't be holding my breath, because again, the pricing in this is unacceptable. The entire game industry that keeps overpricing their devices is unacceptable. And this isn't a problem with just Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox. I'm also going to direct that attention to the Steam Deck, because even I can say that this too is overpriced, especially for someone of my taste. I would wholeheartedly bump down the pricing for the Steam Deck with the LCD screen to a measly $200. Not $299, not $250, $200. Steam Deck OLED with 512 gigabytes, that is $250. Steam Deck OLED with 1 terabyte, easily $300. At this rate, gaming is becoming more and more expensive, and that is a huge red flag, especially when America is incredibly unstable financially as it is. There is absolutely no reason for people to be this vain, not the consumer and not the people coming up with these numbers. And to this day, we're still having an issue with the quality of games, because game companies still don't know how to release a product when it's finished. And I'm not just talking about early access either, where the game is technically in a finished state, but not all the content is in there. I'm talking about games that are being released in a buggy, glitchy, unplayable state, to the point where they either have to issue an apology letter or they have to find ways to fix it. That to me is very reminiscent of what happened with Star Wars Jedi Survivor, where the guys over at Respawn had to find a way to fix the game, and they just made it worse.
Unexpected error. You seem to have bypassed certain story elements, continuing to play from this point may encounter issues. If you choose to proceed anyway, loading any future saves from the title screen will give you the option to reload prior to this point. Reload from last save point? Load. Continue from the last good save. You may lose some progress, but will avoid game-breaking issues. And then it gives you the location. Or proceed anyway. Continue with the broken state. This is not recommended. Things will likely be broken.
I want to point out, I'm seeing somebody say that these are all Pat Mind goblins, that the game is great. I'm sure the game is great underneath all of this stuff. But to describe the wide-ranging variety of issues everyone is having with this game as, whatever, patch, like, it's fucking so stupid. We're looking at a splash screen, a custom-built splash screen, because the issue of broken saves is so common and was going to happen so often, they built a system to fix your saves, and that system doesn't work.
I need to explain very carefully what would happen if I was testing and this message popped up on the compliance team. We take a screenshot, we take a video, we take that and we put it on the desktop and we get ready to write the bug up. But before we do any of that, we call a meeting. I call a meeting in the boardroom right over there. We draw the curtains. We sit around. We pull that up and we fucking howl for at least 25 minutes at that screenshot, because that is the most insane thing you could ever propose. The idea of confronting a corrupted save in this. But this is where PC shit gets wild, right? Because a lot of the time, Nintendo, Sony, Xbox, yada yada, they will often have things that say, you can't fucking do that. You can't go, hey man, your save's kind of fucked up. It's a risky proposition, but it's up to you if you want to.
Hold up my hand here. Gotta stop you. Gotta stop you. The screenshot is from the Xbox version.
So this is the thing. This is what's fucked up, right? A lot of that over time, like, gets more PC-like and they get more hands-off. And so that is a crazy idea from what the era that I came from, at the very least, that you would propose maybe you want to keep using your corrupted save, maybe? We're not sure. It's up to you if something goes wrong. And not only that, the language is like so vague. Like they're such sticklers they were such sticklers for language and making sure that the player understands destructive actions. And there used to be a huge thing about that. This is crazy that you would like let that slide and go, hey man, I don't know, but it's up to you if you want to fucking.
I really need to dig into this, because this is like the fucking most funny thing about it. What is the cross section of? Is the problem is so well known that we have enough time to try and build a system to fix it after the bug happens, but we don't have enough time to actually fix it at all. Like, so, what is that?
Like there would be times where a game that's really poorly made would have something like this, right? And the default state back in the day, again, I'm years removed from those guidelines, would be error. Your data is corrupted. Something's wrong with it, right? Either the save is corrupted and it's gone, or if you can retrieve a previous save, we're just forcing that situation to occur. You're gonna lose progress, but it's because something fucked up happened, right? If the game shipped in a way where that was caused by not the user's actions, like, that would be like they'd have to have gotten a waiver and paid them off, which guess what? EA and Star Wars can probably do. You know, they can pay enough money to be like, yeah, let us ship a game where we get something fucked up like that. But you would never give a choice. You would always pick the soundest option, which is not letting the corrupted data continue to be used, mind you. You'd get rid of it, and you'd always drop them back to a clean save wherever you can, or the whole thing's corrupted and it's gone.
I mean, I should also mention that the gentleman his post is going around by this described that when it went to load the clean save, the clean save was also ruinously broken, and he got stuck and would have had to restart the whole game anywhere because it was just broken. It was like, hey, can you fix this? And he went, okay, I guess. And then it was like, nah, still broken.
This is to even address the other bit, or it's just like, I mean, it's not as like fucking sensational, but like Crash the Desktop, hard, just
yeah,
videos of that, you know. So it is wild when a game is having this type of slop go on, but there's enough money to like just pay for some waivers, pay for some shit, like get some things smoothed over.
You know what this feels like?
The state you get like this game in.
The landlord special over a roach. Right? I don't know if people are familiar with what that is. The landlord special is you're moving out and your landlord needs to make the place nice. So they just fucking shittily paint over everything, and they paint over hair, they paint over roaches, they paint over furniture.
God, like, man. Yeah. I just I can't believe they actually write that and go, hey, I don't know, it's up to you.
And like, hey, if the game ran well and didn't have any problems, I would probably look at it and be like, this is a pretty good feeling Star Wars game that apparently, according to people that have beaten it, it has a really good story and has a lot of cool shit in it. I find it totally impossible to extricate the experience that I'm having where I'm constantly frustrated and low-key worried that the game's going to die on me. And my personal favorite is that this game, which is on fire as you're playing it and heating up my office to the point where I'm uncomfortable, also costs $10 more than the average game.
Yay! Yeah.
This is the reason why I do not spend full price for games anymore. And the main reason why people resort to emulation and piracy. And to be honest, they have every right to do so. I have been emulating Nintendo's games the entire time, Switch games included, because I am never going to drop a single penny on products that I deem half-baked. I never had a Nintendo Switch, and honestly, I'm perfectly okay with that, because I can actually play Nintendo Switch games for free, modded, to make those games better. I can play games at 60 frames per second. I can add characters like Rosalina in Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I can make Link's eyes normal in Link's Awakening. I can make those Pokemon games way better than their initial releases. And Pokemon is in a rough state as it is already, to the point where I'm wondering where the innovation is. We're in 2025 and we're still playing Pokemon games as if they were made over a decade ago, when they need to be on par with something like Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch Remastered, which to this day I feel that is the best RPG gameplay wise, in terms of getting into battles and having all the characters contribute in real time. After that announcement of the Nintendo Switch 2's awful pricing as well as the games, I am drawing the line at this point, and honestly, you need to do the same. You have way better things to spend money on, and spending full price for games and game consoles ain't it. People have actual responsibility to take care of. They do not have a large amount of money just sitting around collecting dust, waiting to be spent on something that's going to keep you company for 6, maybe 7 years, especially in PlayStation's case, because they're not making games that people like. For me personally, I want to see Crash, Spyro, Jack, Sly, Ratchet be what they used to be during the PS2 days, and that's not happening. Now I'm seeing games like Until Dawn and Horizon and Last of Us Part 2, Intergalactic, The Heretic Prophet, and all these other games that look like they barely have any gameplay in it. No interaction, no fulfilling experiences. I have to rely on indie devs to do that. And that's how screwed up the market is right now. Do not, and I'm going to say this again, do not spend full price for anything that the gaming industry craps out. You have better things to do with your time and your money, and spending full price for anything that the game industry craps out isn't it. Respect your time and respect your money, because these companies don't. Emulation and piracy is justified, because these people would rather overcharge all these consoles, all these games, and they just want you to shut up and buy it. Never in my entire life have I seen something as deplorable as this, especially from Nintendo, because we pretty much accepted this kind of behavior from the likes of EA and 2K and Ubisoft. Now we need to see it from PlayStation and Nintendo, especially Nintendo. May I remind you that this is the same company that didn't even add Super Mario Galaxy 2 in Super Mario 3D All-Stars. And may I also remind you that they slapped on a 6-month window for Super Mario 3D All-Stars to be available. So now that that's gone, this means that you have to spend money on a broken online service just to play GameCube games, and this is only on Nintendo Switch 2. You cannot play GameCube games on the regular Switch because the Switch does not have the hardware to run it. And that's the other issue that people have with Nintendo, because you see PlayStation and Xbox, they're pushing boundaries. Nintendo always seems to be 1 step, 2 steps, if not a marathon behind, and then they always gotta play the pacer test just to pick up speed and get to where everybody else is. And honestly, I'm kind of thankful that this happened, because I hope this opens up a lot of people's eyes in what it is that you have to do as a consumer. Stop wasting money on products that demand so much for something that's barely substantial. And I'm going to be looking forward to what happens after this. This is quite possibly one of the biggest uproars that I have ever seen. This is not something that people should just roll over and accept. I'm not accepting this, and you better not accept this either. As a consumer, you have the right to simply say no, put your wallet away, and demand for lower prices. You have so much necessities to do in life that you don't have the time or money to be spending on something as expensive as this. And that's something that these companies don't understand, because they simply don't want to. They just want you to shut up and buy their products without a second thought. And after that Switch 2 announcement, I can safely say that that stops here and now. Never, ever spend full price for games, no matter what the reason is. And if you want to get into emulation and piracy, I say go for it, because at this moment, in every moment, is justified. You are not in the wrong if you do not want to spend any money on any of these games or hardware. The respect for the consumer is gone, and it's all because of how greedy these companies are now. And may I remind you that greed is a deadly sin. The demand for pricing is way too high. Pricing is too high. And if this situation doesn't end up like what happened with the GameCube, I can assure you that this will be the new standard. And what's going to happen when game consoles start costing $1,000, or let alone the same price that you would spend on a car? What if we have to start financing for these consoles? No different than paying a bill month by month. So if you, the consumer, have any amount of self-respect, you would simply just put your wallet away, voice your honest impressions, and let these people know that the pricing on these products are unacceptable. No company is innocent. Even if their products and services are top-notch, make no mistake, these companies need to value you as a consumer. And that's the lesson that still needs to be learned, because these people in power simply don't want to learn it. And that's the biggest punch in the gut that people need to understand. The people who think that this is okay, get help. The people who reject this, that's God speaking to you. I said it once and I will say it again. Money is the most problematic substance on planet Earth. And that Switch 2 Direct is a perfect example why. The specs, the look of it, even the games. Honestly, that was some top-notch stuff. But when the pricing occurred, and when they didn't show the pricing in the Direct and just said to look at it in the website, that's how you can tell that something was up. So let it be known right here and right now, no matter who it is, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, even Valve with their Steam Decks, or any company that's making a portable PC device. If they are overcharging, you have every right to voice your complaints and simply not buy it and demand a lower price, because high prices never equals respect for the consumer. Never. And unfortunately, that's a lesson that still needs to be learned. And to be completely honest, I don't see that lesson being learned anytime soon, because humans are greedy, stubborn creatures who simply do not have the desire to improve. Just a bit of a disclaimer here. This is after the recording from yesterday, because there's information that I wasn't aware of, or there's new information that just came to light. But without further ado,
here goes.
It has come to my attention that the Nintendo Switch 2 is actually cheaper in Japan, which apparently is region locked, unlike the other Nintendo Switch, which isn't region locked. So the Japanese Nintendo Switch is $330, not yen, dollars. This means that the Nintendo Switch 2 is cheaper in Japan than it is in America or Canada. And to make matters worse, the game cards that are inside the Nintendo Switch 2 boxes do not contain the content itself. It only contains the little cartridges that you have to download the content for via the internet, which to me is very reminiscent of the broadcast satellite cartridges that Nintendo had for the Super Famicom back in the day, where you would buy a cartridge and then a satellite would broadcast content into those cartridges. And to make matters way worse, they are now charging people upgrades simply just by putting the Switch 1 cartridge in the Switch 2 system. So that way you can get the Switch 2 version of that game, whether it's Metroid Prime 4 Beyond or Kirby in the Forgotten Land or Mario Party Jamboree. They are flat out adding DLC-like content into those games that you had to pay for, when the game could have just worked by simply inserting the cartridge in the Switch 2 system, and then you get free updates that way. Literally no different than wasting $10 just to remaster a game on PlayStation 5. So right now, the Switch 2 is the most anti-consumer product, the most anti-consumer move ever in history. And the fact that this is coming from Nintendo also makes it worse, especially when you top Mario Kart World being $80 digitally and $90 physically. And still on the topic of electronics, it still doesn't make any sense to me how they are still expensive, and it doesn't matter what you're buying. A TV, a monitor, a game console, a phone, a tablet. Prices need to go down so that people don't have to spend a fortune just for any of it. A Samsung phone, that's $1,000. A game console, that's $500. A big living room TV, that's $1,000. At this point, it is morally correct to demand more for less. Because aside from the fact that you have money to spend on much better things and responsible things, there is absolutely no reason for anyone to be this vain. Always wait for price drops, never spend too much, always demand more for less, because in the end, that's respect for the consumer, whether you or the people in power like it or not. Value your time, your effort, and your money, and always spend it wisely.